Hello, my name is Pilar, and I'm here today to talk to you about my educational leadership journey through this opportunity in this doctor class for Education 815 with Dr. Jill Baker and Dr. Kelly On. The overview for today will be going over a little bit over my personal journey, my identity in this journey, the road to leadership, also going over leadership framework and the LPI assessment and reflection. So I'd like to start a little bit of talking a little bit about me and sharing. So I was born and raised, torn between two very different worlds, spending the first decade of my life quite literally moving back and forth between two nations. Perhaps that's what made me a little different, because I never quite fit in with either place, because my identity and who I was becoming was in large part being formed by two very different places with different people, different customs. And so it just sort of was the perfect storm, I guess, in a way. Once we finally did land here in California, things tended to, it stabilized for me. As the oldest child, I have two younger siblings, and my parents worked quite a bit. They had many jobs, like a lot of immigrant families. My parents worked 2 and 3 jobs to try to make ends meet, and of course, to give us the opportunities that they didn't have. So I helped out a lot, taking care of younger siblings, helping around the house, very much a latchkey kid, coming home and taking care of younger siblings, helping with homework, getting all the duties done around the house. What was clear for me from the very beginning was the absolute love I had for my family, traditions, and values. And those would be the things that I think I carry forward in my everyday life. So I was definitely raised to value the opportunities given to us and to me, specifically living here in the United States, and the responsibilities that it came with. Growing up different, although I didn't look different, it was a little bit of a rough start, looking the way that I look and not speaking English. Afforded me really a gift, the gift of, self-reflection and just the opportunity to really think about how people are different, and how I just always tended to look for the underdog because I knew what it felt like. And so I always wanted to help even out things for others. I grew up drawn to challenges, wanting to protect and this whole idea of fairness. So driven by stories and really wanting to get to know people and what they were about, because I knew that what it looked like on the outside didn't always match what was on the inside. And being fortunate enough to have a lot of privileges, I felt I grew up really committing to wanting to help others. So unlike, maybe other people, I was really thrust into and have always enjoyed reading stories about others. So these are some of my favorite books that really kind of helped, I think it sort of pushed me into education. One of the things I've enjoyed being here in the Long Beach Unified School District are our leadership domains and dimensions. I feel like something's very easy to follow the rubric, and you're really able to see where you are in the process and challenge yourself to continue learning. The one that I'd like to draw attention to today is the one on environment and equity. So this one speaks a lot to the work that we are doing at the forefront, and it speaks to me certainly in my big interest in trying to help everyone feel a part of the journey. So helping to create inclusive environments where everybody feels welcome, where everybody feels valued, meeting that cultural, intellectual, social, emotional needs that we all have. This really speaks a lot to me. So I have been leaning a lot on this, particularly in these last few years. The LPI survey that we took, here are the 2 areas where I scored areas of strength. So enable others to act, treating people with dignity and respect, giving people a great deal of freedom and choice in deciding how to do their work. And that is something I've definitely learned along the way as a teacher, really trying to inspire students to show me what they could do and each student always had different strengths. So I really learned early on that if I could tap into those strengths and allow for some choice, that I'd have happier students and a happier teacher. So I was glad to see that that was an area of strength. Also a shared vision, speaking with genuine conviction about higher meaning and purpose of their work, and talking about future trends, which are two things that I definitely try to do in my work as a principal. Areas of focus: encourage the heart and model the way. Wasn't entirely surprised to see that. I grew up definitely not having a lot of space to talk much about my own story. It was just really trying to meet the needs of others. So it is a little bit of a challenge for me to share personal stories. And sometimes I think I also struggle with, I don't know, praising enough maybe, because I am so focused on just getting the work done and feeling that is the excitement in it, is getting those, the work done and being here for the kids. So I wasn't terribly surprised to see this, but it is something that I have worked on over the years, and hopefully will continue to improve. And modeling the way, asking for feedback, and knowing how my actions affect other people's performance. That's something I think that I've made some strides, and I continue to work on that as well. Sometimes the positional power is something that I have a hard time, because I try to be in it and boots on the ground. I do forget sometimes that positional power is a thing. So, and I probably do need to make more clear my philosophy of my leadership. I tend to lean a lot on district views, and should probably do a little bit more personal reflecting. So here's some things that I've done this school year. We created Bravo Bruins in an effort to really try to allow colleagues to shout out other colleagues, to kind of create that camaraderie. We also have had quite a few surveys. We typically do survey staff and students, but we've been trying to reach more into parents and community to see what their views are and how we could be working together to support our students. I added a few other celebratory things. We have lots of ways to celebrate student success. And so we have Student of the Month, and we've been really trying to generate kindness and acceptance on campus. And you see here pictured several of my students creating notes and passing out kindness notes to students around campus at lunch. So here's some things that I'm still working on, using what I know to be good practice and putting it into place. Sharing my own story, been working on this idea of branding, which is something I had not thought about prior to class this year. Being more clear about my philosophy and my why, and how that really can help propel my whole team into a forward, like really adopting more of the practices. Giving opportunities for people to share more of their own stories. We have started some restorative justice here. We've had some training, and I'm very excited that we now have an RJ coach part-time to continue that work moving forward. But we'd like to spread that. We currently have 2 teachers that do it consistently, but we definitely need to work here, and I need to work on building that more into the fiber of our school. And I'm very also excited to launch web coming this fall, and we're actually starting the spring, but those are things that I hope will continue to move the work forward and really build a nice culture here at Bancroft. So here are some important events on the path to educational leadership for me. Graduated from UCI as the first person in my family. I'm the oldest sibling. I'm also the oldest of all of the grandchildren. So I was the first to graduate from college, and that was really exciting for my family and for me. I started teaching, so I kind of fell into teaching. I didn't plan it. I always wanted to help, and I had this whole moral compass around fairness and helping the underdog, but I really thought my life was going to go more into maybe legal work or working in a government agency. I hadn't really considered teaching, and it wasn't until a friend said, hey, you should consider subbing while you're trying to figure it all out. And it was really teaching my first year, getting thrown into a classroom when I intended to sign up as a sub, and got convinced that no, I was going to be a great teacher, even though I had no experience, joining that teaching staff at John Adams Elementary School so many years ago in Santa Ana Unified, really those kids, they took my heart, and I really fell in love with teaching and knew that that was where I needed to be. I'm always telling family and friends or anyone who will listen that it's really helped shape me as a person. I think this is a really special career that has so much reflection built into it, and we impact the lives of so many different people that it affords us the gift of really, I don't know, getting to be our best selves because we're forced to, because we have to for our kids. So I think it's a neat thing. Also, another huge thing for me was packing my bags and moving back east and going from teaching lower elementary grades to teaching high school in the Bronx in New York City, which was a very different community going in and different age group, and everything was new, and I didn't have the comfort of family and friends nearby. So that was a really interesting time for me as well. I grew a ton as an educator, learning to shift gears, learning to really see that even the high school kids, much like our lower elementary kids, just need for us to believe in them and to be there for them. So that was a really important. I hadn't, at that point in my life, I hadn't learned that yet. And so that was a pivotal time for me. Living through some of the experiences, living through 9/11 with my family there, my student and colleague family was a really important shift for me in thinking about my role as an educator. And then moving back to California and my years, I didn't start at Webster, but Webster was a really neat place for me. I got to meet Bob Hedges, who was just a really instrumental person in my becoming a leader in education. He was the one who really pushed me to go and get my administrative credential. I didn't see myself in that role. I saw myself more I wanted to be a reading specialist, and really just always looked to help struggling students. And that was something that spoke to my heart. And I hadn't considered myself as a principal or assistant principal or anything like that. I just really saw a classroom, and he was the one who really said, no, this is something you should consider. I think that you would be really good at it. I know you're going to be a great principal. And so that was another important event. And then getting moved to both Washington and Franklin, it was really hard to choose between those two, both becoming a first-time assistant principal and a first-time principal. Those jobs were just amazing for me personally, for my leadership growth and for my personal growth, great opportunities for me. And then also coming to Bancroft was really interesting, because you think, it's always interesting to me that you think that you've learned these lessons, these life lessons, that you've grown into, like, okay, I've got it together and I know. And then all of a sudden you get smacked with a bucket of cold water. And that was Bancroft for me. I thought coming here, I definitely know what I'm doing. I've got these years under my belt now. I've got this tool belt. I've had a lot of success. I know how to build teams. This is going to be easy, right? I'm moving to an East Side school. These kids want to be in school every day. These teachers are going to be amazing. And it was a challenge coming here for sure. I had a brand new team and had to fit into an environment that I was not used to, had not ever worked in any capacity at an East Side school or a school similar to it. And it was a big shift, and it was good for me to learn. Wow, I didn't even realize that I was so overly confident coming into this job. So Bancroft has been and is a good reminder to me that you just have to always be in the learner seat and not ever be too confident. So those were important things in my becoming an educational, or have been on my path of educational leadership. So in a world where you can be anything, I definitely focus on trying to be kind and spreading that awareness and really trying to create inclusive environments for all students where everybody belongs. And here at Bancroft, that's what we try. That's our motto, Bancroft, where we all belong, a Bruin. Thank you for listening.